Marcus Chen sat in his old truck outside the Riverside Community Theater. His hands gripped the steering wheel tight. He had been sitting there for 15 minutes just staring at the building. The engine was off. The afternoon sun was hot. Sweat rolled down his back. In his right hand he held a piece of paper. It was crumpled and soft from being folded and unfolded so many times. The paper announced open auditions for the theater's summer show. His wife Sarah had printed it 3 days ago. She had left it on the kitchen table where he would see it during breakfast. Marcus was 42 years old. He had worked in construction for the past 20 years. His hands were rough and covered with small scars. His face was dark from working in the sun every day. He wore old jeans with paint stains and a faded blue t-shirt. These were his work clothes. He had not changed after finishing his shift. He looked at the theater building. It was old, but beautiful. The front had tall white columns. The doors were made of dark wood with brass handles that shined in the sunlight. People walked in and out. Most of them looked young. They wore nice clothes. They carried folders and water bottles. They looked like they belonged there. Marcus did not feel like he belonged there. 20 years ago, things had been different. Marcus had been a student at the State University. He had studied music. Voice performance, they called it. He had been good at it too. His teachers had said he had talent. They had said he could have a real career in music. They had used words like promising and gifted, but life had other plans. In his second year of college, Sarah got pregnant. They were both 22 years old. They were scared. They were also happy. But being happy did not pay the bills. Being happy did not buy baby clothes or diapers. Marcus had to make a choice. He dropped out of school. His father knew a man who owned a construction company. The man needed workers. The pay was good. Marcus took the job. He told himself it was just for a little while. Just until they got on their feet. Just until they saved some money. 20 years passed like water through his fingers. Now Marcus and Sarah had 3 children. Emma was 19 and in college. Jacob was 16 and played football. Little Maria was 12 and loved to draw. They lived in a small house with a yard. They had 2 cars. They had enough money for food and clothes. Life was okay, but something was missing. Marcus had not sung in front of anyone in 20 years. Sure, he sang in the shower sometimes. He sang along with the radio in his truck. But that was different. That was not real singing. Not the kind of singing that made his whole body feel alive. Not the kind that made time stop and the world disappear. Sarah knew this. She watched him sometimes when a song came on the radio. She saw how his face changed, how his eyes got a faraway look, how his fingers tapped against his leg like he was counting beats. She saw the hunger there, the wanting. That was why she had printed the audition notice. That was why she had left it on the table. That was why she had said to him that morning, "Just go. Just try. What do you have to lose?" Marcus had laughed. "My dignity?" he had said. But Sarah had not laughed. She had looked at him with those serious eyes. "You lose a little bit of yourself every day you don't do this," she had said. "I see it. The kids see it. You're disappearing, Marcus." Those words had hit him hard. He had thought about them all day at work, while he hammered nails into wood, while he measured and cut boards, while he drank water in the shade during breaks. Sarah's words echoed in his head. "You're disappearing." Was she right? Marcus thought about the man he used to be, the young man who had stood on stages and felt the power of his own voice filling a room, the man who had dreamed big dreams. Where had that man gone? Now Marcus opened the truck door. The heat hit him like a wall. He stepped out onto the hot pavement. His work boots made a heavy sound. He closed the door and stood there, looking at the theater. He could still leave. He could get back in the truck. He could drive home and tell Sarah he went. But they did not need him. No one would know. No one except him. And Sarah. Sarah would know he was lying. Marcus took a deep breath. He walked toward the theater doors. Inside, the building was cool. Air conditioning breathed cold air on his hot skin. The lobby was big with high ceilings. The walls were painted cream color. Old posters from past shows hung in frames. There were pictures of people in costumes, their faces painted, their arms spread wide in dramatic poses. About 30 people sat in chairs or stood in small groups. They were all waiting to audition. Most of them were young, maybe in their 20s. Some looked like teenagers. A few were older, closer to Marcus's age. They all looked nervous. A girl with bright red hair sat behind a table near the entrance. She had a clipboard and a big smile. "Hi there. Are you here for auditions?" she asked. Marcus nodded. His throat felt dry. "Yes," he said. "Great. Name?" "Marcus Chen." She ran her finger down the list on her clipboard. "I don't see you here. Did you register online?" Marcus felt his face get hot. "No, the paper said open auditions. I thought that meant anyone could come." The girl smiled. "Oh, you're totally fine. Open auditions means exactly that. I just need to add you to the list." She wrote his name at the bottom. "Have you been in any shows before?" "Not recently," Marcus said. "A long time ago, in college." "Cool. Well, you'll go in when they call your name. Shouldn't be too long." She handed him a form to fill out. "Just write down your contact info and any experience you have." Marcus took the form and a pen. He found an empty chair in the corner and sat down. The chair was hard plastic. He put the form on his knee and started writing. Name, address, phone number. Those were easy. Then came the hard part. Experience. What should he write? That he had been in a few college productions 20 years ago? That he had taken voice lessons for 2 years? That he used to be good, but now he was just a construction worker who sang in the shower? He wrote, studied voice performance at State University 2003-2005. Performed in university productions of Carmen and the Magic Flute. It looked small on the paper. 2 years of his life reduced to 2 sentences. Around him, other people were warming up. He could hear them humming and doing vocal exercises. A young woman with long black hair stood in the corner singing scales quietly. La 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 la, she sang, going up and down. Her voice was pretty and light. A man with glasses sat near Marcus. He looked about 30 years old. He was dressed nicely in khaki pants and a button-up shirt. He was reading through some sheet music, his lips moving silently as he studied the notes. Marcus felt very out of place. He looked down at his work clothes. He had not even thought about what to wear. Everyone else looked prepared, professional, like they did this all the time. What was he doing here? A door opened on the far side of the lobby. A woman stepped out. She was thin with gray hair pulled back tight. She wore black pants and a black shirt. She held a clipboard. "Jennifer Martinez?" she called out. A young woman jumped up. She looked excited and terrified at the same time. "That's me. Come on in," the woman with the clipboard said. Jennifer disappeared through the door. It closed behind her. The lobby fell quiet. Everyone was listening, trying to hear what was happening inside. After a few seconds, they heard a piano playing, then a voice singing. It was muffled through the walls, but they could hear it. Jennifer was in there for maybe 5 minutes. Then the door opened again. She came out looking disappointed. She walked quickly through the lobby and out the front door. She did not look at anyone. The woman with the clipboard appeared again. "Thomas Wright?" The man with glasses stood up. He gathered his sheet music and walked toward the door. Marcus watched him go. The door closed. Piano, singing. 5 minutes. Thomas came out looking neutral. Not happy, not sad. Just done. This pattern repeated. Name called. Person goes in. Piano, singing. Person comes out. Some people looked happy when they came out. Most looked nervous or disappointed. One girl was crying. Marcus checked his phone. He had been there for an hour. His name was near the bottom of the list. It would be a while. He texted Sarah. "Still waiting. Lots of people here." She texted back immediately. "Proud of you. Doesn't matter what happens, you showed up." Marcus smiled. Sarah always knew what to say. More names were called. The lobby slowly emptied. The sun moved across the sky. The light through the windows changed from bright white to golden yellow. Marcus's stomach growled. He had not eaten since lunch, and that had been 6 hours ago. Finally, after almost 2 hours, he heard his name. Marcus Chen? He stood up. His legs felt stiff from sitting so long. His heart started beating fast. The woman with the clipboard looked at him. She seemed tired. Her face had that blank expression of someone who had been doing the same thing over and over for hours. "Come on in," she said. Marcus walked toward the door. His work boots sounded loud on the floor. He felt like everyone was watching him, even though only a few people remained in the lobby. He stepped through the door. The auditorium was huge. The ceiling was so high it disappeared into shadows. Rows and rows of red seats rose up toward the back. The seats were empty. All of them. Hundreds of empty seats just watching him. At the front, there was a long table. 3 people sat behind it. Papers and coffee cups covered the table surface. The woman who had called his name was the one in the middle. She had sharp glasses that made her eyes look bigger. Next to her sat a younger woman with curly brown hair. On the other side was a man with a gray beard. To the left of the stage there was a piano. An old man with white hair sat on the piano bench. He looked tired too. "Come on up," the woman with glasses said. She did not look at Marcus. She was writing something on a paper in front of her. Marcus walked down the aisle. His boots echoed in the big space. He climbed the steps onto the stage. The lights were bright, hot. He could not see the people at the table clearly anymore. They were shapes in the darkness beyond the lights. He stood there waiting, not sure what to do with his hands. He put them in his pockets, then took them out, then crossed his arms, then let them hang at his sides. The woman with glasses looked up. She saw him standing there. She glanced at her paper. "Marcus Chen?" "Yes, ma'am." "Says here you studied voice in college?" "Yes, ma'am." "For 2 years." "That was a while ago," she said. It was not a question. "Just a statement. 20 years, Marcus said. She made a note on her paper. "Well, we're looking for chorus members." Background voices. "Nothing fancy. We just need to hear that you can carry a tune and project." She waved her hand at him like she was shooing a fly. "Just sing something simple. Happy Birthday or Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Something everyone knows. We need to check your range and make sure you can be heard in the back rows." Marcus stood there. The lights were so hot. Sweat started on his forehead again. His mouth was dry. "Happy birthday," he repeated. "Or whatever," the woman said. She was already looking back at her papers. "Just make it quick. We're running behind." The man with the beard yawned. The young woman with curly hair was drinking from a coffee cup. None of them were really paying attention to him. He was just another person, just another audition in a long day of auditions. Number 28 or 30 or whatever. They had probably heard Happy Birthday 15 times already today. Marcus looked at the piano player. The old man looked back at him. Their eyes met. The old man gave him a small, kind smile. Like he understood. Like he knew this was hard. "Ready when you are," the old man said softly. Marcus opened his mouth. He was going to sing Happy Birthday. That was what they asked for. That was what he should do. Keep it simple. Don't make waves. Get through it and go home. But then something happened. Standing there on that stage with those hot lights on his face, Marcus thought about his morning. About Sarah leaving that paper on the table. About her words. "You're disappearing, Marcus." He thought about 20 years. 20 years of alarm clocks at 5 in the morning. 20 years of hammering and sawing and lifting. 20 years of being Marcus the construction worker. Marcus the husband. Marcus the father. Marcus the responsible one. Marcus the practical one. 20 years of not being Marcus the singer. He thought about his daughter Emma. She was studying engineering at college. Smart girl. But last month she had asked him, "Dad, did you really used to sing opera?" Like it was a fairy tale. Like it was something made up. She could not imagine her father as anything except what he was now. His son Jacob had never heard him sing. Not really sing. Jacob thought his dad just worked construction. That was all he was. All he had ever been. Little Maria, she loved music. She listened to it all the time. But she listened alone in her room. She never asked Marcus about music, because she did not know he used to love it too. His family did not know who he used to be. Hell, Marcus barely remembered who he used to be. But standing there on that stage, something woke up inside him, something he had buried deep. Something he thought was dead but was just sleeping, waiting. The young Marcus, the one who had dreams, the one who felt music in his bones, the one who stood on stages and felt power and joy and freedom, that Marcus was still in there. Marcus looked at the woman with the sharp glasses. She was not even watching him. She was reading something. Bored already, he made a decision. "Can I sing something else?" he asked. His voice came out stronger than he expected. Clear. Loud enough that it echoed a little in the big space. The woman looked up. She seemed surprised. Annoyed, maybe. "What? Can I sing something else? Instead of happy birthday?" She sighed. A long, tired sigh. She looked at the other judges. The man with the beard shrugged. The young woman with curly hair did not seem to care. "Fine," the woman said. "Whatever. Just make it quick." Marcus turned to the piano player. The old man looked interested now. He sat up straighter on his bench, waiting. "Do you know Nessun Dorma?" Marcus asked. The old man's eyebrows went up. His eyes got wide. He stared at Marcus for a long moment. "From Turandot?" he asked. "Puccini?" "Yes, sir." The piano player looked at Marcus carefully. Really looked at him. Taking in the work clothes, the rough hands, the weathered face, Marcus could see him thinking. Wondering. This did not look like a man who sang Puccini. "That's a big piece," the old man said slowly. "Very demanding." "Are you sure?" Marcus nodded. "I'm sure." Behind him, he heard movement at the judge's table. The woman with glasses was sitting forward. "Wait," she said. "Nessun Dorma? That's one of the most famous tenor arias in opera." "I know," Marcus said. "That's not appropriate for a chorus audition," she said. Her voice had an edge now, like he was wasting her time. Marcus turned to face her. The lights made her hard to see, but he did it anyway. "You said I could sing something else. You said whatever. That's what I want to sing." The woman opened her mouth, closed it. She looked at the other judges again. The man with the beard was smiling a little, like this was interesting. The young woman had put down her coffee and was actually paying attention now. "Fine," the woman said. "Go ahead. But make it count. This is your one shot." Marcus turned back to the piano. The old man was watching him with new eyes. Curious eyes. "You're serious about this?" he asked quietly. "Yes, sir," Marcus said. "Very serious." The old man nodded slowly. "All right, then." He adjusted his position on the bench. He stretched his fingers. Then he put his hands on the keys. "Let's give them something to remember," the piano player began. The opening notes of Nessun Dorma filled the theater. Slow, powerful, beautiful. The melody was famous. Even people who did not know opera knew this song. It had been in movies, commercials, competitions. It was the kind of music that made people stop and listen. Marcus closed his eyes. He let the music wash over him. Let it fill him up. He remembered the first time he had heard this aria. He had been 18 years old, sitting in a music appreciation class. The teacher had played a recording. The voice on that recording had been so powerful, so full of emotion that Marcus had felt tears in his eyes. He had been embarrassed, crying in class, but he could not help it. The music had touched something deep inside him. That was when he knew. That was when he understood. This was what he wanted to do with his life. He wanted to make people feel something. He wanted to create moments that touched souls. He wanted to sing. Now, 20 years later, Marcus stood on a small community theater stage. He was wearing dirty work clothes. He smelled like sawdust and sweat. His hands were rough. His face was tired. He was nobody, just another middle-aged man trying to recapture something lost. But when the piano reached the point where the voice comes in, Marcus opened his mouth and began to sing, and everything changed. The first note that came from Marcus's mouth was not what anyone expected. It was deep, rich, full of power that seemed impossible from a man his size. The note rolled out of him like thunder rolling across distant mountains. It filled the theater. It climbed to the high ceiling and bounced off the walls. It was the kind of sound that made you feel something in your chest. At the judges' table, the woman with sharp glasses stopped writing. Her pen froze in midair. She looked up at the stage. The man with the gray beard sat up straighter in his chair. The young woman with curly hair put both hands on the table and leaned forward. On stage, Marcus kept singing. His eyes were still closed. The Italian words came back to him like old friends. He had not sung this aria in 20 years, but the words were still there, waiting, hidden in some corner of his mind where all the important things lived. Nessun dorma, he sang. None shall sleep. The story of the aria was about a prince who had to solve a riddle. If he failed, he would die. But the prince was not afraid. He was determined. He believed in himself. He sang these words to the night sky, telling the stars that he would succeed, that by morning everyone would know his name. Marcus had always loved this aria, not just because it was beautiful, but because of what it meant. It was about not giving up, about believing you could do something impossible, about taking a chance when everything was against you. 20 years ago, Marcus had given up. He had stopped believing. He had taken the safe road, the practical road. He had done what he was supposed to do. But now, in this moment, Marcus was not being practical. He was not being safe. He was standing on a stage in his dirty work clothes, singing one of the hardest pieces in all of opera. It was crazy. It was foolish. It was wonderful. The piano player watched Marcus with wide eyes. His fingers moved over the keys with more energy now. He was not just accompanying anymore. He was playing, really playing. Like he had forgotten he was at a community theater audition. Like he was back in some concert hall somewhere playing for a real tenor. A real artist. Marcus moved through the area. Each phrase was like climbing a mountain. The notes went up and up, higher and higher. Some of the notes were so high that most men could not reach them, but Marcus reached them. His voice was strong there, clear, but it was not perfect. There were places where his voice shook a little, places where you could hear that he had not sung like this in a long time, places where the rust showed through. But somehow that made it better, because what came through more than technical perfection was emotion. Real, raw emotion. Marcus was not just singing notes. He was not just showing off his voice. He was singing his story, his pain, his regret, his hope. Every word he sang carried 20 years of weight. 20 years of wondering what if. 20 years of dreams pushed down and buried. 20 years of being someone he was not. It all came out in the music. The woman with glasses stood up from her chair. She walked closer to the stage. She stood at the edge looking up at Marcus. Her face had changed. The tiredness was gone. The boredom was gone. Now she looked shocked, confused, like she was trying to understand what was happening. Marcus opened his eyes. He saw her standing there. He saw the other judges behind her, both leaning forward in their chairs. He saw the old piano player smiling now as he played, and Marcus smiled too, because in that moment he remembered what it felt like. This feeling, this incredible, indescribable feeling of singing, of letting the music flow through you like water, of being a channel for something bigger than yourself. He had forgotten how good it felt. For 20 years he had been living half a life, going through the motions, getting up, going to work, coming home, going to bed, repeat, day after day, year after year. It was fine. It was okay. But it was not living. Not really, this was living. Marcus kept singing. The aria was building now, moving toward the famous ending. The part everyone knew. The part that had been sung by the greatest tenors in history. Pavarotti, Domingo, Carreras, Corelli, giants of opera, legends. And here was Marcus Chen, construction worker from a small town, daring to sing their song. His voice grew stronger, louder. He forgot about being nervous. He forgot about the judges. He forgot about everything except the music and the story, and the feeling of his voice filling the space around him. Behind the judges' table, a door opened quietly. The girl with red hair from the lobby peeked in. She had heard the singing from outside. She wanted to see who was making that sound. Her eyes went wide when she saw Marcus on stage. She left the door open. Outside in the lobby, the people who were still waiting heard the music. One by one, they got up from their chairs. They moved toward the door. They stood in the doorway listening, watching. A teenage boy who worked as an intern at the theater was backstage. He was supposed to be organizing props, but he stopped. He put down the chair he was carrying. He walked to the edge of the stage, staying in the shadows where no one could see him. He stood there listening, his mouth hung open. The janitor was cleaning a bathroom on the second floor. He heard the music coming through the vents. He stopped mopping. He stood there with his mop in his hand, head tilted, listening to the sound drifting up from below. Something special was happening. Everyone in the building could feel it. On stage, Marcus was nearing the end. The final high notes were coming. These were the notes that everyone waited for. The notes that made or broke a performance of this area. They had to be strong, clear, perfect. They had to soar. Marcus took a deep breath. His chest expanded. Every muscle in his body was ready. His whole life had led to this moment. Every choice. Every sacrifice. Every morning he woke up tired. Every night he went to bed wondering if this was all there was. All of it led here. To this stage. To this song. To these final notes. He thought about Sarah. Beautiful Sarah, who had believed in him when he stopped believing in himself. Who had seen him disappearing and refused to let him go without a fight. Who had printed that audition notice and left it on the table. Who had said, "Just try. What do you have to lose?" He thought about Emma at college. About Jacob and his football games. About little Maria and her drawings. His children. His beautiful children who had given his life meaning but who had never really known him. Not all of him. He thought about the young man he had been. Full of dreams and fire. That young man was still inside him. Still there. Just waiting. Waiting for Marcus to stop being afraid. Waiting for Marcus to take a chance. Waiting for Marcus to sing. Marcus sang the final phrase. His voice rose up and up. Higher than he thought he could go. Higher than he had gone in 20 years. The note was bright and golden and strong. It rang out like a bell. Like a trumpet. Like victory, his arms spread wide. His head tilted back. The hot lights were on his face, but he did not feel them. He felt only the music. Only the pure, perfect joy of singing. The note held. And held and held. Longer than seemed possible. The piano had stopped playing. It was just Marcus now. Just his voice. Alone. Unafraid. Free. When the note finally ended, the theater fell silent. Complete silence. No one moved. No one spoke. No one even breathed. Marcus stood on the stage, chest heaving. Sweat ran down his face. His whole body shook. He had given everything. Every bit of strength. Every ounce of emotion. He felt empty and full at the same time. Exhausted and energized, he looked down at the judges. They were staring at him. All three of them. Just staring. The woman with glasses had her hand over her mouth. The man with the beard had tears in his eyes. The young woman with curly hair was shaking her head slowly, like she could not believe what she had just heard. Marcus suddenly felt embarrassed. Had he done something wrong? Had it been bad? Had he been foolish to try? He was just a construction worker. Who was he to sing Puccini? Then from the piano came the sound of clapping. The old piano player was standing up. He was clapping his hands together. Slowly at first, then faster, then harder. His face was shining with joy. "Bravo," the old man said quietly. Then louder. "Bravo!" The teenage intern backstage started clapping too. Then the people in the doorway. Then the janitor appeared at the back of the theater, still holding his mop, clapping. The man with the gray beard stood up from the judges' table. He started clapping. Big, loud claps that echoed. The young woman with curly hair jumped up too, clapping and smiling. Only the woman with glasses stood still. She stared up at Marcus. Her hand was still over her mouth. Her eyes were strange, like she was angry and amazed at the same time. Finally, she lowered her hand. "Where did you learn to sing like that?" she asked. Her voice was sharp, hard. Marcus did not know what to say. I studied in college. A long time ago." "You studied for 2 years, she said. She had his form. She had read it. 2 years. 20 years ago. Then nothing. "Yes, ma'am," Marcus said. "Why did you stop?" she asked. Marcus felt the weight of that question. Such a simple question. Such a complicated answer. "Life," he said finally. "I had a family. I needed a job. I had to be responsible." The woman shook her head. "That's a waste," she said. Her voice was angry now. Really angry. That voice, that gift. 20 years working construction when you could sing like that. It's a damn waste. Marcus felt his face get hot. He wanted to defend himself, to explain. But what could he say? She was right. It was a waste, he knew it. He had always known it. That was why it hurt so much. I did what I had to do, he said quietly. The woman stared at him for a long moment. Then she turned to the other judges. They whispered together. Marcus could not hear what they were saying. He stood on the stage, waiting. His heart was beating hard. His hands were shaking. Finally, the woman turned back to him. "You're not singing in the chorus," she said. Marcus's heart sank. He had blown it. He had shown off. He had been too much. They were going to send him away. It was over before it began. "Our lead tenor dropped out last week," the woman continued. "He got a job offer in New York, left us hanging. We've been scrambling to find someone. The show opens in 6 weeks. She paused. "The role is yours if you want it." Marcus could not speak. He could not move. He just stood there, staring down at her. "Did you hear me?" she asked. "I'm offering you the lead role. The tenor lead. But I need to know now. Rehearsals are 4 nights a week. Sometimes 5. You'll need to memorize the entire role. It's a lot of work. A huge commitment. So I need to know. Do you want it or not?" Marcus found his voice. "What show?" he asked. "La Boheme," the woman said. "Puccini. You'll play Rodolfo. It's a big role. Very demanding. If you're not ready for that, tell me now." La Boheme. Marcus knew that opera. He had seen it performed once in college. It was beautiful. Tragic. The story of a poor poet who falls in love with a seamstress. They are young and happy and in love, but she is sick. She dies at the end. It was one of the most famous operas ever written, and they were offering him the lead. Marcus thought about what this meant. 4 nights a week of rehearsal, maybe 5. That was 4 nights away from his family, 4 nights of not being home for dinner, 4 nights when Sarah would have to handle everything alone. It also meant less overtime at work, less money. They had just enough to get by. Losing even a few hours of overtime would hurt. It meant being tired. Rehearsals would be at night after work. He would have to go straight from the construction site to the theater. He would get home late, then wake up early for work the next day. For 6 weeks, it meant pressure. The lead role meant all eyes on him. If he failed, everyone would see. The whole town would know. Marcus Chen, the construction worker who thought he could be an opera singer. Who did he think he was? It meant risk. What if his voice was not as good as he thought? What if tonight was a fluke? What if he could not do it? It meant so many things. Hard things. Scary things. But it also meant something else. It meant singing. Really singing. 4 nights a week, maybe 5, he would get to do what he loved. What he was meant to do. He would stand on a stage and let his voice soar. He would tell a story with music. He would feel alive. His children would see him. They would sit in the audience and watch their father do something amazing. They would understand that he was more than just a construction worker, that he had dreams too, that it was never too late to chase those dreams. Emma would see that you can study one thing and still love another. Jacob would see that real strength means being brave enough to try something scary. Maria would see that art matters, that beauty matters, that music can change your life, and Sarah would see the man she fell in love with, the young man with fire in his eyes and music in his soul. She would see that she had been right to print that audition notice, right to push him, right to believe. Marcus looked at the woman with glasses. She was waiting for an answer. Her arms were crossed. Her face was hard to read, but her eyes were sharp. Watching him, he looked at the piano player. The old man was smiling, nodding, like he knew what Marcus would say. He looked at the people standing in the doorway, strangers who had stopped to listen, who had been moved by what they heard. He looked at his hands, rough hands, working hands, hands that built things, but also hands that could express music, that could gesture and move and help tell a story. Marcus took a deep breath. He thought about Sarah's words from that morning. "You're disappearing, Marcus." He had been disappearing. For 20 years, bit by bit, day by day, becoming less and less himself, becoming only what other people needed him to be. Husband, father, worker, provider. But he was more than that. He had always been more than that. He had just forgotten. Standing on that stage, having just sung Nessun Dorma, Marcus remembered who he was. He remembered the young man with dreams. He remembered what it felt like to take a risk, to believe in himself. To be brave. Marcus looked at the woman with glasses. He stood up straighter. His voice was steady when he spoke. I want it, he said. I want the role. The woman nodded. Not smiling, but satisfied. Good. Rehearsal tomorrow night. 7 o'clock. Don't be late. She gathered her papers. And Chen? Get some proper shoes. Those work boots are too loud on the stage. Marcus laughed. He could not help it. He laughed loud and long. The sound echoed in the big theater. The woman looked at him like he was crazy. Maybe he was. Maybe this whole thing was crazy. But it was a good kind of crazy. The best kind. Marcus walked off the stage. His legs felt weak. His whole body was shaking. As he passed the piano, the old man reached out and grabbed his hand. He shook it firmly. That was something special, son, the old man said. That was really something special. Thank you, Marcus said. For playing with me. You made it better. No, the old man said. You did that all by yourself. Marcus walked up the aisle toward the door. The people standing there stepped aside to let him pass. Some of them were smiling. One man patted him on the shoulder. That was incredible, the man whispered. In the lobby, more people were waiting for their auditions. They all looked at Marcus as he walked through. He could feel their eyes on him. The girl with red hair at the table was beaming. That was amazing, she said. I heard it from out here. Everyone did. That was so cool. Marcus smiled at her. Thank you, he said. He walked out the front doors into the evening air. The sun was setting. The sky was pink and orange. The heat of the day was fading. A cool breeze touched his face. Marcus stood on the steps of the theater. He pulled out his phone. His hands were still shaking. He called Sarah. She answered on the first ring. How did it go? She asked. He could hear the worry in her voice. The hope. Marcus smiled. Sarah, he said. You're not going to believe this. Marcus did not sleep well that night. He lay in bed next to Sarah, staring at the ceiling. His mind was racing, going over everything that had happened. The audition, the aria, the way his voice had filled that theater, the feeling of being on stage again after 20 years, and the lead role. They had given him the lead role. Sarah had screamed when he told her. Actually screamed right there on the phone. Then she had cried. Happy tears. When he got home, she had hugged him so tight he could barely breathe. The kids had been confused at first, then excited. Then Maria had asked, Does this mean you're going to be famous, Dad? Marcus had laughed. No, baby. Just means I get to sing. But now, in the dark of his bedroom, doubt crept in. What had he done? 6 weeks until the show. 4 or 5 rehearsals every week. Learning a whole role. Memorizing all those words, all that music. And working full-time too. Was he crazy? Was he too old for this? His voice had felt good at the audition, but what about tomorrow? What about next week? What if it gave out? What if he could not do it? Marcus turned over in bed. Sarah was asleep, breathing softly. She believed in him. She had always believed in him. Even when he stopped believing in himself, he had to try. He had to at least try. The next morning, Marcus woke up at 5 o'clock like always. He made coffee. He ate breakfast standing at the kitchen counter. He kissed Sarah goodbye while she was still half asleep. Then he drove to work in his truck. The construction site was the same as always. The same guys. The same work. Framing a new house on the east side of town. The morning was cool but would be hot later. Marcus put on his tool belt. He picked up his hammer. He got to work, but something was different. Marcus found himself humming, just quiet little melodies while he worked. He had not done that in years. The other guys noticed. You're in a good mood, said Tommy, one of the younger workers. What happened? Win the lottery? Marcus smiled. Something like that. At lunch, Marcus sat in the shade of the unfinished house. He ate his sandwich, but instead of looking at his phone, he closed his eyes. He tried to remember the music from La Bohème, the melodies, the words. He had seen it performed once, but that was long ago. He would need to learn it all. Every note, how did it go? The opening scene was Rodolfo in his apartment with his friends. They were cold and poor but happy. They joked around. Then the friends left and a girl knocked on the door. Her name was Mimi. Her candle had gone out. Could he light it for her? And that was when Rodolfo fell in love. Marcus remembered the famous aria from that scene. C'è gelida manina, Your tiny hand is frozen. Rodolfo takes Mimi's cold hand and tells her about himself, about his life as a poet, about his dreams, about how he lives in poverty but feels rich because of his imagination. Marcus tried to remember how the melody went. He hummed it quietly. Was that right? He was not sure. He would need the music. The score. He would need to study it. You okay, boss? Tommy was looking at him strangely. Marcus opened his eyes. Yeah, fine, just thinking. About what? You look weird. Marcus laughed. I got a part in a play. In an opera, actually. At the community theater. I'm just trying to remember the music. Tommy's eyes went wide. An opera? Like with the singing? The big dramatic singing? Yeah, you can do that? Used to, long time ago. We'll see if I still can. Tommy shook his head. Man, that's wild. My mom loves that stuff. She watches it on TV sometimes. I don't get it. All that yelling in Italian. Marcus smiled. It's not yelling. It's singing. And it's beautiful when you really listen. If you say so, Tommy said. But he looked impressed. What's it called? The opera? La Bohème. It's by Puccini. Never heard of it. It's famous. Very famous. It's about artists and love and loss. Marcus paused. It's a sad story. But beautiful. Tommy nodded slowly. Cool. Well, good luck with it, I guess. Thanks. The rest of the day dragged by. Marcus kept looking at his watch. Rehearsal was at 7. He would leave work at 4. Drive home, shower, change clothes. Eat something quick. Then drive to the theater. He would get there early. He wanted to be early. Finally, 4 o'clock came. Marcus packed up his tools. He said goodbye to the crew. He drove home faster than usual. At home, Sarah had laid out clean clothes for him on the bed. Black pants. A plain t-shirt. His nicer shoes, not the work boots. There was also a stack of papers. She must have printed them. Marcus picked them up. It was the libretto. The words to La Bohème. All of them. In Italian with English translations. I found it online, Sarah said from the doorway. I thought you might need it. Marcus hugged her. Thank you. This is perfect. Are you nervous? She asked. Terrified, Marcus admitted. You're going to be amazing. Sarah kissed his cheek. Go shower. I'll make you a sandwich to take. Marcus showered quickly. He put on the clean clothes. He looked at himself in the mirror. He looked tired. The lines around his eyes were deep. His hair was starting to gray. He was not young anymore, but his eyes had something new in them. Something that had not been there for a long time. Hope. Marcus ate the sandwich while driving. He got to the theater at 6:30. Half an hour early. The parking lot was mostly empty. Just a few cars. The sun was still up but getting lower. The evening light was golden. Marcus sat in his truck for a minute. He looked at the theater building. This was really happening. He was really doing this. Part of him still could not believe it. He got out of the truck. He grabbed the papers Sarah had printed. He walked to the door. Inside, the lobby was quiet. No one was at the desk. The lights were dim. Marcus heard voices coming from somewhere. He followed the sound. He found a hallway. It led to a large room. The door was open. Inside, people were gathering. Maybe 15 or 20 people. Some were young. Some were older. They stood in groups talking and laughing. A few were doing vocal warm-ups. Marcus stood in the doorway, not sure what to do. A man noticed him. It was the man with the gray beard from the judge's table. He walked over, smiling. Marcus, you made it. Come in, come in. He stuck out his hand. I'm David, I'm the musical director. We'll be working together a lot. Marcus shook his hand. Nice to meet you. That was quite an audition yesterday, David said. Best one we've had in years, maybe ever. Thank you, Marcus said. He felt his face get hot. Have you done any shows recently? Besides college? No, nothing, not in 20 years, David whistled low. Well, you sure didn't sound rusty. Come on, let me introduce you to people. David led Marcus into the room. He introduced him to the other cast members. There was Lisa, a woman in her 30s who would play Mimi. She had a kind smile and a firm handshake. I'm so excited to work with you, she said. I heard about your audition. Everyone's talking about it. There was Brad and Jason, 2 guys in their 20s who would play Marcello and Shaunard, Rodolfo's friends. There was an older woman named Patricia, who would play the landlord. On and on, name after name. Marcus tried to remember them all. He knew he would forget most of them and have to learn them again. At 7 o'clock, the woman with sharp glasses came in. She clapped her hands. All right, everyone. Let's get started. Sit down. Everyone found seats. The room fell quiet. The woman stood at the front. For those who don't know me, I'm Margaret. I'm directing this production. We have 6 weeks. That's not a lot of time. We have a lot of work to do, so let's not waste time. Margaret was all business. No smile, no warm welcome. Just straight to work. Marcus could tell she was tough, demanding. But that was okay. He respected that. Let's start with a read-through, Margaret said. We'll go through the whole opera. Just reading. Not worrying about singing yet. I want to hear the story. I want to see if you understand your characters. She handed out scripts. Marcus already had his copy, the one Sarah printed. But he took the official script, too. It was marked up with notes and stage directions. They sat in a circle. Margaret assigned roles. Then they started reading. Marcus had forgotten how much he loved this part. The read-through, where you first meet the story and the characters, where you start to understand who you're playing, what they want, what they fear. Rodolfo was a poet, a dreamer. He lived in poverty but did not care. He believed in art and love and beauty. He thought these things were more important than money or comfort. He was young and passionate and a little naive. Marcus read his lines. In English first, just to understand. Then in Italian. The words felt strange in his mouth. He had not spoken Italian in so long, but it started coming back. The flow of it. The music of the language itself. When they got to the scene where Rodolfo meets Mimi, Marcus felt something click. Lisa read Mimi's lines with sweetness and shyness. Her voice was soft. When Rodolfo took her cold hand, Marcus could almost feel it. The connection. The spark. Love at first sight, C'è gelida manina, Marcus read. Your tiny hand is frozen. Let me warm it for you. The scene was beautiful. Intimate. Two people finding each other in the darkness. Finding hope and warmth in each other. The read-through took 2 hours. When they finished, Margaret nodded. Good, that's a good start. Tomorrow we'll start on the music. David will work with you on the singing. We'll take it section by section. She looked at Marcus. Rodolfo is in almost every scene. You have a lot to learn. I suggest you get the music and start studying it tonight. I will, Marcus said. After the rehearsal, people gathered in small groups, chatting, making plans to practice together. Marcus felt like an outsider. These people all seemed to know each other. They had done shows together before. They were comfortable here. Lisa came over to him. Hey, Marcus, do you have the score? The music? Not yet, Marcus admitted. I just got cast yesterday. I haven't had time to get it. I have an extra copy, she said. Come on, it's in my car. You can have it. Marcus followed her outside. The sun was down now. The sky was dark blue. Stars were starting to appear. Lisa's car was an old sedan. She opened the back seat and pulled out a folder. Inside was the score. All the music for La Bohème. Pages and pages of it. Here, she said, handing it to him. I bought 2 copies by accident. You can have this one. Are you sure? I can buy my own. It's fine, really. Consider it a welcome gift. She smiled. I'm really glad you're doing this. We needed a strong tenor. You're going to be great. I hope so, Marcus said. I'm pretty nervous. That's normal. But you've got the voice. I heard recordings of yesterday's audition. Someone filmed it on their phone. It's already going around, she laughed. You're kind of famous now. At least in the community theater world. Marcus felt embarrassed. I didn't know anyone was recording, and don't worry. It's a good thing. People are excited about the show now. Ticket sales are going to be good. Lisa paused. So, 20 years since you've performed? Yeah. What made you come back? Marcus thought about how to answer. My wife, he said finally. She pushed me to audition. She said I was disappearing. That I needed to do this. Lisa nodded. Smart woman. The smartest. Well, I'm glad she pushed you. This is going to be fun. Hard work, but fun. Lisa got into her car. See you tomorrow, Marcus. See you. Marcus drove home with the score on the passenger seat. He kept looking at it. All that music. All those notes. Could he really do this? Could he really learn it all in 6 weeks? When he got home, Sarah was still awake. The kids were in bed. She was sitting on the couch with a book. She looked up when he came in. How was it? Good, overwhelming, but good. Marcus sat down next to her. He showed her the score. Look at all this. I have to learn all of it. Sarah flipped through the pages. You'll do it. One day at a time. One page at a time. I don't know if I can. Yes, you do. You know you can. You're just scared, and that's okay. Sarah closed the score and looked at him. Do you remember when Emma was born? You were so scared. You said you didn't know how to be a father. You said you would mess it up, Marcus remembered. I was terrified, but you weren't a mess. You were great. You learned, day by day, and now look. Emma's in college, smart and strong and independent. You did that. You and me, we figured it out. This is different. No, it's not. It's exactly the same. Something new and scary. But you'll learn. You'll practice. You'll work hard. And you'll be amazing. Sarah took his hand. I believe in you, Marcus. I always have. Marcus squeezed her hand. I love you. I love you too. Now go to bed. You have to work tomorrow, and you need to rest that voice. Marcus went to bed, but again he could not sleep. His mind was too busy. He got up quietly. He took the score and went to the kitchen. He sat at the table with a lamp on. He opened the score to the first page and he began to study. The music was complex. Beautiful but complex. Puccini was a genius. The melodies flowed like water. They caught emotion perfectly. Joy, sadness, love, loss. It was all there in the notes. Marcus hummed quietly, following the melody line. He read the words, tried to match them to the music. It was slow work, difficult but also thrilling, like solving a puzzle, like learning a new language. He worked for 2 hours. Then 3. His eyes got tired. His voice got rough from humming. But he kept going. He had to. He had so much to learn. So little time. Finally, at 1 a.m, Marcus closed the score. He had made it through the first 2 scenes. He had the basics down. Tomorrow he would review. Then move forward, scene by scene, note by note. Word by word, he went back to bed. This time he fell asleep immediately. The next few days followed the same pattern. Work during the day, rehearsal at night, study late into the night, sleep a few hours, wake up and do it again. Marcus was exhausted. His body hurt from construction work. His brain hurt from learning music. His voice was tired from singing. But he pushed through. He had to. At rehearsals, David worked with them on the music. He was patient but firm. He would play a section on the piano, then have them sing it, then correct them, then do it again, over and over until they got it right. No, no, David would say. That note is flat. Sing it again, and this time breathe here, not there. See the marking? That's where Puccini wants you to breathe. It was hard work, tedious work, but Marcus loved it. He loved the precision, the attention to detail, the way David would explain why something worked or didn't work, the way he would demonstrate with his own voice, which was still strong despite his age. Margaret ran the staging rehearsals. She was tough, very tough. She did not accept excuses. If you messed up, she told you, bluntly, sometimes harshly. Marcus, you're standing in the wrong place. You should be downstage left, not center. And your hand gesture is too big. Make it smaller. More natural. You're not in a cartoon. Marcus took the criticism. He did not get defensive. He knew Margaret was trying to make the show better. And she was right most of the time. He was rusty at acting, at stage movement, at making his body match his voice, but he learned quickly. He watched the other actors. He asked questions. He practiced at home in front of the bathroom mirror. Sarah would catch him sometimes rehearsing his gestures. She would smile but never made fun. She understood. After a week, Marcus was starting to feel more comfortable. The music was getting into his body, his muscle memory. He could sing some sections without looking at the score. The words were becoming natural. The character was becoming real. One night at rehearsal, they worked on the scene where Rodolfo and Mimi first meet. The moment when he takes her hand. When he sings Che gelida manina, Marcus and Lisa stood on the stage. The lights were dim, creating the feeling of night. Margaret watched from the audience. David sat at the piano. Okay, Margaret said. This is the most important scene in the opera. This is where Rodolfo falls in love, where everything changes for him. I need to see that, Marcus. I need to see him fall. Really fall. Marcus nodded. He understood. But understanding and doing were different things. David played the introduction. Marcus began to sing, Che helida manina. Your tiny hand is frozen. He took Lisa's hand. It was small, warm. He looked at her face. She looked back at him with soft eyes. Playing Mimi, shy and sweet and beautiful. Marcus sang about his life, about being a poet, about living in poverty but feeling rich, about his dreams and hopes. The melody was gorgeous, soaring, romantic. As he sang, something happened. Marcus forgot he was in a rehearsal. He forgot about Margaret watching, about David at the piano, about the other cast members sitting and waiting for their turn. He was just Rodolfo, holding this girl's hand, feeling something he had never felt before. Love. Pure, simple, overwhelming love. The words poured out. The music flowed. Marcus's voice was full of emotion. Real emotion. He looked at Lisa and saw her eyes getting wet. She was feeling it too. The connection. The truth of the moment. When the aria ended, Marcus and Lisa stood in silence, still holding hands, still looking at each other, the spell slowly breaking. Then Margaret spoke. That, she said quietly, was perfect. That's what I want. That's what this opera is about. Marcus let go of Lisa's hand. He stepped back. His heart was pounding. He felt dizzy. What had just happened? David was smiling from the piano. Beautiful, Marcus. Just beautiful. You found it. Marcus did not know what to say. He had just felt it, felt the music and the character and the moment all come together. It was magic. Pure magic. 3 weeks passed in a blur of work and rehearsals and music. Marcus barely slept. He would get up at 5 in the morning for his construction job. Work until 4. Drive straight to the theater without going home. Rehearse until 10 or 11 at night. Then drive home, eat something quick, study the score for another hour or two, and finally fall into bed around 1 in the morning. Then wake up 4 hours later and do it all again. His body was tired. His voice was tired. But his spirit was alive in a way it had not been in decades. Sarah worried about him. You're going to burn out, she said one morning at breakfast. You can't keep going like this. Only 3 more weeks, Marcus said. I can handle 3 more weeks. You look exhausted. I feel great. Tired, but great. And it was true. Despite the exhaustion, Marcus felt more alive than he had in years. Every morning when he woke up, he looked forward to rehearsal, to singing, to being Rodolfo. It gave him purpose, energy, joy. At work, the other guys noticed the change in him. Tommy asked about the show constantly. How's the opera going? When's the show? Can I come watch? It's going well. And yes, you can come. It's open to the public. Tickets are $10. I'll be there, Tommy said. Front row. I want to see this. Even his boss, a gruff man named Frank who rarely talked about anything except construction, mentioned it. Heard you're in some kind of show, singing. Yes, sir. An opera. Frank nodded slowly. My wife likes that stuff. She might want to see it. You should bring her. Opening night is 3 weeks from Friday. Maybe I will. The fact that Frank even knew about it surprised Marcus. He had not talked about it much at work, but somehow word had spread. People were talking. It made Marcus nervous. What if they came and he was terrible? What if he let everyone down? At rehearsal, the show was coming together. The cast was getting comfortable with each other. The music was solid. The staging was smooth. They were ready to move into the actual theater for technical rehearsals. The theater itself was beautiful. Marcus had only seen it from the audience side during his audition. Now he got to see it from backstage. The wings with their curtains and ropes. The dressing rooms with their mirrors and lights. The green room where actors waited. The stage itself, wooden and worn from years of performances. Margaret gathered everyone on stage before the first tech rehearsal. This is when it gets real, she said. We'll add lights, costumes, the orchestra, everything. It's going to be chaotic. Tech rehearsals always are. But we'll get through it. Just stay focused. She was right. Tech rehearsals were chaos. Lights were wrong. Cues were missed. Costumes did not fit. The orchestra came in at the wrong time. People bumped into each other in the dark. Props were in the wrong place. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong. But slowly, over several rehearsals, it came together. The lights found the right spots. The costumes were adjusted. The orchestra learned when to come in. The actors learned where to stand so they did not bump into each other, and then they did a full run-through. The whole opera start to finish with everything. Lights, costumes, orchestra, the works. Marcus stood backstage before his entrance, waiting. His heart was pounding. He wore Rodolfo's costume, simple brown pants, a white shirt, a vest, a scarf, clothes of a poor artist in Paris. The costume designer had done a good job. Marcus looked the part. He heard his cue. He walked onto the stage. The lights hit him, warm and golden. The set was beautiful. A small apartment with a desk, a window, some chairs. It looked real, like you could live there. Marcus began to sing, the opening scene with his friends. They joked and laughed. The music was light and playful. Brad and Jason were good as Martello and Shaunard. They had chemistry. They felt like real friends. Then the friends left. Rodolfo was alone. He sat at the desk to write. Then came the knock at the door. Mimi Lisa entered. She looked beautiful in her costume. A simple dress. A shawl, her hair down. She really looked like a seamstress from 1830s Paris. "Excuse me," she sang. "My candle went out. Can you light it?" And they fell into the scene Marcus and Lisa had rehearsed so many times. But now, with the full production around them, it was different. Better. More real. Marcus sang Che gelida manina. He took Lisa's hand. He looked into her eyes, and he was not Marcus anymore. He was Rodolfo completely. The aria soared. Marcus's voice filled the theater. Strong and clear, the orchestra supported him, swelling at the right moments, pulling back when needed. It was perfect, beautiful. When the aria ended, Rodolfo and Mimi stood close together. The lights faded. The scene ended. From the audience, Marcus heard clapping. Just a few people. The tech crew and Margaret and David, but they were clapping. Actually clapping during a rehearsal. Margaret's voice came from the darkness. Beautiful. Just beautiful. Keep that energy for the show. Next scene, the rehearsal continued. Through the happy scenes where Rodolfo and Mimi were in love. Through the painful scenes where they fought. Through the tragic ending where Mimi died in Rodolfo's arms. That last scene was hard. Marcus had to sing while crying. While holding Lisa and watching her die, he had to convey the deepest grief. The loss of the person he loved most in the world. During the scene, real tears came. Marcus could not help it. The music was too beautiful. The story too sad. Lisa too convincing as dying Mimi. "I'm so cold," Mimi sang, her voice weak. "I'll warm you," Rodolfo sang. "Don't leave me." Please don't leave me, but she did leave. She died, and Rodolfo was left alone, destroyed. The orchestra played the final heartbreaking chords. The lights faded to black. Silence. Then Margaret spoke. "That's it. That's the show. Good work, everyone. We have 1 week to polish, then it's opening night." 1 week, Marcus could not believe it. 1 week until people would actually come to see them, to judge them, to decide if they were good or not. The cast gathered in the green room after rehearsal. Everyone was excited, nervous. The show was almost here. This thing they had worked so hard on was about to be shared with the world. Lisa pulled Marcus aside. "You were amazing tonight. That last scene? I actually forgot we were in a rehearsal. I believed every word. Thank you, you too. You make it easy. I'm so glad you're doing this. So glad you came to that audition." She paused. "You know, a lot of people have been talking about you, about how good you are. Word is getting around town." Marcus felt uncomfortable. "I'm just trying to do my best." "Well, your best is pretty incredible." Lisa smiled. "I think this show is going to be special. I really do." Marcus hoped she was right. The next week was a whirlwind of final rehearsals and adjustments. Margaret gave notes after every rehearsal. Small things. Move a little to the left here. Hold that note longer. Make that gesture bigger, smaller, different. She was a perfectionist. Nothing was ever quite good enough. But Marcus appreciated it. He wanted the show to be as good as possible. His family came to the final dress rehearsal. Sarah and all 3 kids. Marcus was nervous having them there. What would they think? Would they be proud? Embarrassed? He watched from backstage as they found their seats. Front row, center. Sarah waved when she saw him peeking out from the curtain. He waved back, then the lights went down. The show began. Marcus tried to forget his family was watching. He focused on the performance, on being Rodolfo. On telling the story, it went well. Really well. No major mistakes. The energy was good. The singing was strong. Everything clicked. At the end, during curtain call, Marcus looked out at his family. Emma was crying. Happy tears. Jacob was smiling big. Maria was bouncing in her seat. And Sarah. Sarah looked at him with so much love and pride that Marcus almost started crying himself. After the show, his family came backstage. Maria ran to him and hugged him tight. Dad, that was so cool. You were so good. Jacob nodded. Yeah, Dad, that was awesome. I didn't know you could do that. Emma just hugged him. I'm so proud of you, she whispered. Sarah waited until the kids were done. Then she took Marcus's face in her hands. That was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. You were born to do this. I don't know about that, Marcus said. I do. I know, Sarah kissed him. Thank you for doing this. For taking the chance. You've shown our kids something important tonight. That it's never too late to be who you're meant to be. Marcus hugged her tight. He had not known he needed to hear those words. But he did. And they meant everything. Opening night arrived. Marcus woke up that Friday morning feeling strange, excited, terrified, ready, not ready. All of it at once. He went to work like normal. But his mind was not on the job. He kept thinking about that night. About standing on that stage in front of hundreds of people. About singing his heart out. About everything that could go wrong, Tommy noticed. You okay, boss? You're quiet today. Just thinking about tonight. You nervous? Very. Don't be. You're going to kill it. I know you are. I hope so. At 4 o'clock, Marcus left work. He drove home. He showered. He put on nice clothes. He ate a light dinner. His stomach was too twisted for anything heavy. Sarah made him tea with honey. For your voice, she said. Thank you. The kids and I will be there. Front row again. With your parents and my parents. They're so excited to see you. Marcus had not thought about his parents seeing him. His father had never understood the music thing. Had thought it was impractical. Had been glad when Marcus dropped out to get a real job. What would he think of this? What if I mess up? Marcus said suddenly. What if my voice cracks or I forget the words or I trip on stage? Sarah took his hands. Then you keep going. You don't let it stop you, and we'll still be proud. No matter what happens, Marcus nodded. He knew she was right, but the fear was still there. This was the biggest thing he had done in 20 years. Maybe the biggest thing he had ever done. At 6 o'clock, Marcus drove to the theater. He got there early. He went straight to his dressing room. Other cast members were arriving too. Everyone looked nervous. Lisa looked pale. Brad was doing breathing exercises. Margaret came through the dressing rooms. How's everyone feeling? A chorus of nervous responses. Good, nervous is good. It means you care. She looked at each of them. You're all ready. You've done the work. Now just go out there and tell the story. That's all. Just tell the story. She left. The cast sat in their dressing rooms waiting, warming up, putting on makeup, getting into costume. Marcus looked at himself in the mirror. He looked different in Rodolfo's costume. Younger somehow, or maybe just more alive. He could hear people arriving in the theater. The murmur of voices. The excitement. David stuck his head in. 30 minutes. How are you feeling? Terrified, David smiled. Good, channel that into the performance. Let it fuel you. Okay. Marcus, you're going to be wonderful. I've been doing this for 40 years. I know a great performer when I see one. You're the real deal. David left. Marcus sat alone with his thoughts. He closed his eyes. He thought about the journey that had brought him here. The audition where he chose to sing Nessun Dorma instead of Happy Birthday. The decision to take the lead role. The long nights of practice. The exhaustion. The doubt. The fear, but also the joy. The feeling of singing again. Of being alive. Of being himself. Marcus opened his eyes. He looked at his reflection. You can do this, he said out loud. You were meant to do this. There was a knock on the door. 5 minutes, someone called. 5 minutes, Marcus stood up. He walked to the stage. Other cast members were gathering in the wings. Lisa smiled at him. Ready? As ready as I'll ever be. We've got this. The lights in the theater dimmed. The audience fell quiet. Marcus could hear his heart beating, loud, fast. The orchestra began the overture. The beautiful swelling music of La Bohème. Marcus closed his eyes and let it wash over him. This was it. This was the moment the curtain rose. The stage lights came up. Brad and Jason were already on stage in character. The show had begun. Marcus waited in the wings for his entrance. He took deep breaths, calmed his nerves, became Rodolfo in his mind. Then his cue came. He walked onto the stage, the lights hit him. Hot and bright. Beyond them, he could see the audience. Hundreds of faces, all watching, all waiting. For a split second, Marcus froze. Terror gripped him. What was he doing here? He was just a construction worker. He had no business being on this stage, but then he opened his mouth. And he sang. The first notes came out strong, clear, confident. The fear melted away. Marcus was not himself anymore. He was Rodolfo. He was in Paris. He was with his friends. He was alive. The scene flowed. The jokes with Marcello and Shaunard. The playful music. The audience laughed at the right moments. They were engaged, paying attention, then the friends left. Marcus was alone on stage. He sat at the desk, pretended to write. And then came the knock. Lisa entered as Mimi. "Excuse me." My candle went out. They fell into the scene they had rehearsed so many times. But tonight it was different. Tonight it was real. Tonight there were people watching. People feeling, people being moved by the story. Marcus sang Che gelida manina. He took Lisa's hand. He looked at her with all the love Rodolfo felt for Mimi, and his voice soared. The aria was the centerpiece of the first act. The moment everyone waited for. The melody was famous, beloved. Marcus had to do it justice. He poured everything into it. Every ounce of emotion. Every bit of technique. Every part of his soul. His voice filled the theater. Powerful and beautiful and full of longing. He sang about being a poet. About living in poverty but feeling rich because of his dreams. About how meeting Mimi had changed everything. About how love was worth more than all the money in the world. The words were about Rodolfo and Mimi. But they were also about Marcus. About how singing had changed him. How taking this risk had brought him back to life. How love and art and beauty were what made life worth living. The aria built to its climax. The high notes. The passionate declaration of love. Marcus's voice rang out, clear and strong and triumphant. When the aria ended, there was a moment of silence. Then the audience exploded into applause. Real, genuine applause. In the middle of the act. Breaking the fourth wall. They could not help themselves. Marcus and Lisa stood there, still in character, but hearing the applause. Feeling the audience's approval. Their love. Margaret would probably scold them later for breaking the flow. But right now it did not matter. The audience was moved. That was what counted. The show continued. Through the happy scenes of Rodolfo and Mimi in love. Through the painful scenes where poverty and jealousy drove them apart. Through the reconciliation. And finally, through the heartbreaking ending. The death scene. Mimi sick and dying. Rodolfo desperate to save her but helpless. This was the emotional core of the opera. The moment that broke hearts. Marcus held Lisa in his arms. She was so convincing as dying Mimi. Weak and cold and fading. He sang to her, begged her to stay. But it was no use. "I'm so cold," Mimi sang, her voice barely a whisper. "No, no, no," Rodolfo sang. "Don't leave me. I love you. Please don't leave me." But death does not care about love. Death takes what it wants. Mimi's eyes closed. Her body went limp. She was gone. Rodolfo realized what had happened. He screamed her name. "Mimi, Mimi!" The orchestra played the final, devastating chords. Rodolfo collapsed over Mimi's body, destroyed, alone. The lights faded to black. Silence. Complete silence in the theater. Marcus stayed in position, holding Lisa, his face buried in her shoulder. He could feel tears on his cheeks. Real tears. The music had broken him. The story had broken him. Then the applause started. Slowly at first. Then building. Then erupting into a standing ovation. The lights came back up for curtain call. The cast came out one by one, each receiving applause. When Marcus came out, the applause got louder. Much louder. People were on their feet, cheering, calling out. Marcus bowed. He looked out at the audience. He found his family. Sarah was crying. His mother was crying. Even his father looked moved, proud. Marcus felt a wave of emotion wash over him. He had done it. He had really done it. He had sung an opera, a full opera, lead role, And it had been good. No, not just good. It had been great. The cast took their bows together. Then the orchestra stood and received their applause. Then Margaret came out and bowed. The applause continued. 5 minutes. 10 minutes. The audience did not want to stop clapping. Finally, the curtain closed. The cast stood backstage looking at each other. Everyone was crying, hugging, laughing. The emotion was overwhelming. Lisa hugged Marcus tight. "We did it. We actually did it. I can't believe it," Marcus said. "I can't believe that just happened." David appeared, his face glowing. "That was magnificent. Absolutely magnificent. Best show this theater has done in years. Maybe ever." Margaret stood back watching everyone celebrate. She caught Marcus's eye. She gave him a small nod, a smile. That was high praise from her. People started coming backstage. Friends and family. Audience members who wanted to meet the cast. The lobby was packed. Marcus's family pushed through the crowd. Maria got to him first, launching herself into his arms. "Dad, that was amazing." "You made me cry." Jacob hugged him next. "Dad, that was seriously cool. I had no idea you could do that." Emma just held him. "I'm so proud of you." So proud." Then Sarah. She looked at him with shining eyes. "You were extraordinary. That's the man I fell in love with. That's who you really are." Marcus's father approached. This was the moment Marcus had been dreading. What would his practical, no-nonsense father say? His father stood in front of him, looking at him. Marcus waited for criticism, for a practical comment, for something to diminish the moment. Instead, his father pulled him into a hug. A tight, strong hug. "Son," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I was wrong. I was wrong about the music. You should have kept singing. You're brilliant." Marcus woke up Saturday morning feeling like he had been hit by a truck. Every muscle in his body ached. His throat was sore. His head pounded. The adrenaline from the previous night had worn off, leaving him exhausted and hurting. He checked his phone. It was 10 in the morning. He had slept for almost 9 hours. That was more than he had slept in weeks. There was a text from Lisa. "Amazing show last night. Can't wait for tonight's performance. Rest your voice today." Another text from David. "You were brilliant. See you at call time 6 p.m. And messages from friends he had not talked to in years. People he went to college with. People from his old life. They had somehow heard about the show, about his performance. Word was spreading. Marcus got out of bed slowly. His whole body protested. He went downstairs. Sarah was in the kitchen with the kids. They all turned when he came in. "There's the star," Sarah said, smiling. She came over and kissed him. "How do you feel?" "Like I got run over," Marcus admitted. "But also good. Really good. You were amazing last night, Dad," Emma said. She was home from college for the weekend specifically to see the shows. "Everyone I know is talking about it. It's all over social media." "What do you mean?" Marcus asked. Emma pulled out her phone. She showed him. Someone had posted videos from the performance. Short clips on different platforms. They were getting thousands of views, thousands, Marcus did not know what to say. "I didn't know people were filming." "Dad, you're kind of famous now," Jacob said, grinning. "At least locally famous. All my friends are talking about how my dad is in an opera. It's pretty cool." Marcus sat down at the table. Famous felt like too big a word. But something was definitely happening. He could feel it, a shift. A change. "The local newspaper called," Sarah said. "They want to do an article about you. Interview you for tomorrow's paper." "Really?" "Really. I told them you'd call them back today." Sarah poured him coffee. Also, Margaret called. She said ticket sales for tonight and tomorrow are through the roof. They might have to add seats. Marcus sipped his coffee. His mind was spinning. Yesterday, he had been nervous about performing in front of a few hundred people. Now thousands were watching videos online. The newspaper wanted to interview him. They were adding seats. It was overwhelming. "Dad, are you okay?" Maria asked. She looked worried. Marcus smiled at her. "I'm fine, baby, just surprised by all of this." "You shouldn't be surprised," Sarah said. "You're incredibly talented. People recognize that. They want to see it. I'm just a guy singing in a community theater." "No," Sarah said firmly. "You're an artist sharing his gift. That's something special, something rare. Don't diminish it," Marcus nodded. She was right. He had worked hard. He had given everything to this performance. He should be proud. The rest of the morning was quiet. Marcus rested. He drank tea with honey. He did gentle vocal warm-ups to make sure his voice was ready for that night. He avoided talking too much to save his voice. In the afternoon, he called the newspaper. The reporter was enthusiastic. She asked about his background, why he quit singing, what made him come back, how it felt to perform again. Marcus answered honestly. He talked about his family, about needing to be practical, about losing himself over 20 years, about Sarah pushing him to audition, about finding himself again through music. That's a beautiful story, the reporter said. Very inspiring. I think a lot of people will relate to it. People who gave up their dreams, who wonder if it's too late to go back. It's never too late, Marcus said. That's what I learned. It's never too late to be who you're meant to be. That's a great quote. Can I use that? Sure. After the interview, Marcus took a nap. He needed to be rested for that night's performance. Sarah woke him at 5. He showered, ate a light meal, did his warm-ups, then drove to the theater. The parking lot was packed. Way more cars than the night before. Marcus had to park in the back. As he walked to the stage door, he saw people lined up at the box office. A long line, all of them wanting tickets. Inside, the cast was gathering. Everyone looked tired but excited. Last night had been magical. They all felt it. Now they had to do it again. 2 more shows, Brad said. Let's make them as good as the first. They all agreed. They would give it everything they had. The second performance was even better than the first. Maybe because the nerves were less. Maybe because they knew they could do it. Maybe because the audience's energy was so high. Whatever the reason, it clicked. Every note. Every moment. Every emotion, the audience reaction was incredible. They laughed at the funny parts. They leaned forward during the tender moments. They cried at the sad parts, and they stood and cheered at the end. Another standing ovation. Longer than the first night. Backstage afterward, Margaret gathered the cast. That, she said, was even better than opening night. You've grown into these roles. You're living them. It's beautiful to watch. The third and final performance on Sunday afternoon was packed. Every seat filled. People standing in the back. The energy in the theater was electric. Marcus felt different going into this show. Sad that it was ending. These 6 weeks had changed his life. Changed how he saw himself. Changed everything. And now it was almost over. But he pushed those feelings aside. He focused on the performance. On giving the audience everything he had. On honoring the story and the music and his character. The final show was perfect. Not technically perfect. There were small mistakes here and there. But emotionally perfect. The cast connected with each other in a deep way. They had become a family over these weeks. That love and trust showed on stage. When Mimi died in Rodolfo's arms for the last time, Marcus felt genuine grief. Not just for the character, but for the end of this experience. The end of this chapter. The final curtain call lasted almost 20 minutes. The audience did not want to leave. They kept clapping and cheering. When Marcus took his bow alone, people shouted, "Bravo!" The word echoed through the theater. Bravo. 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 Marcus looked out at the audience. He saw his family. He saw his co-workers. He saw strangers who had been moved by his performance. He saw the impact he had made. The lives he had touched. The hearts he had moved. This was why he sang. Not for the applause. Not for the recognition. But for this. This connection. This shared experience of beauty and emotion. This reminder that we are all human. We all love. We all lose. We all hope. We all dream. After the final show, the cast gathered for the last time. They were all crying, hugging, not wanting to let go. "We did something special here," Lisa said. "Something we'll never forget." 3 shows, Jason said. "That's not enough." "We need more," Margaret overheard him. "Actually," she said, "I've been talking with the board. Because of the response, we're considering extending the run. Adding 2 more weekends." The cast erupted in cheers. 2 more weekends. 8 more shows. They were not done yet. Marcus felt relief flood through him. He was not ready for this to end. Not yet. Over the next 2 weeks, they performed 8 more times. Every show was sold out. The local newspaper ran the article about Marcus. It was on the front page of the arts section. The headline read, "Construction worker rediscovers his voice after 20 years." The article told his story. About dropping out of college. about working construction to support his family, about the audition that changed everything, about proving it's never too late to chase your dreams. The response was overwhelming. Marcus got messages from people all over the state, people who had given up their own dreams, people who were inspired by his story, people who were thinking about taking their own risks. One message in particular moved Marcus. It was from a woman named Jennifer. She wrote, "I'm a 50-year-old accountant who always wanted to be a painter. I gave it up to have a stable career. Your story made me realize I've been disappearing too. I've been dying a little every day. I'm signing up for art classes. Thank you for showing me it's not too late." Marcus read that message to Sarah. She cried, "That's beautiful. You're changing people's lives." "I'm just singing." "No. You're showing people it's possible to come back to yourself, to find what you lost. That's powerful, Marcus. That matters." The extended run finally ended. 11 performances total. Every single one sold out. The theater made more money from this production than any show in their history. At the closing night party, the board president approached Marcus. "We'd like you to consider doing more shows with us. Whatever you want. Name the role. We'll build a season around you." Marcus was stunned. I don't know what to say." "Say yes. You're incredible. You bring people into the theater. You make them feel something. That's what we need." Marcus promised to think about it, but he already knew his answer. Yes, of course, yes. He would keep singing. He would keep performing. He would keep being himself, but he also needed to figure out the practical side. He still had his construction job. His family still needed the income. Could he do both? Could he be a construction worker and a performer? He talked to Frank, his boss, the Monday after the show closed. "I need to talk to you about my schedule. I might need to take some evenings off." "For shows, performances." Frank looked at him. "How often?" "I don't know yet. Maybe a couple months a year. Whatever shows I do." Frank was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Chen, you're one of my best workers, reliable, skilled. I don't want to lose you. Just don't let it affect your day work. And if you get famous and quit on me, I'm going to be pissed." Deal. With Frank's approval, Marcus could do both. Be both. Construction worker and opera singer. Practical and artistic. Father and performer. All of it. All of him. Over the next several months, Marcus did 2 more shows at the community theater. Then he auditioned for a regional theater in the next town over. They cast him in a production of Carmen, then a production of The Magic Flute. His reputation grew. His name became known in regional opera circles. A music teacher from the university saw one of his performances. She approached him after the show. "Have you ever thought about teaching? We need someone who can work with young tenors, someone with real performance experience." "I'm not qualified to teach," Marcus said. "You have a degree in voice performance. You have years of performing experience. You're qualified. Think about it. Part-time, 1 or 2 classes. We'll work around your schedule." Marcus thought about it. Teaching, passing on what he knew, helping young singers avoid the mistakes he made, encouraging them to chase their dreams, not give up like he had. He said yes. So Marcus became a construction worker, an opera singer, and a teacher. He had 3 jobs, 3 identities, but they were all him, all parts of who he was. He did not have to choose anymore. He could be everything. His children saw the change in him, saw how alive he was, how happy. Emma told him one day, "Dad, you're different now. Better, more present." "I feel different," Marcus admitted. "I feel like myself." "I'm glad," Emma said. "I'm glad you took that risk. It taught me something important." "What's that?" "That it's okay to want more than one thing. To be more than one thing. You don't have to fit into a single box. You can be complex, multidimensional, fully yourself." Marcus hugged her. His wise daughter. She had learned the lesson he needed 20 years to figure out. 2 years after that first audition, Marcus got a call from a professional opera company. A real one, in a major city. They had heard about him. They wanted him to audition for a role in their upcoming season. Marcus almost said no. Professional opera? At his age? After so long away? It seemed impossible, but Sarah pushed him. Just audition. See what happens. You've already done the impossible once. Why not do it again? So Marcus auditioned. He sang for the artistic director and the casting panel. He gave them everything he had. They offered him the role. A supporting role, not a lead. but a real role in a professional production, with professional singers, professional orchestra, professional everything. Marcus stood in his kitchen, holding the phone, staring at Sarah. They offered me the role. Of course they did. You're brilliant. It's 3 months. Rehearsals and performances. I'd have to take a leave from construction. From teaching, can you afford to? Marcus did the math in his head. The opera company's contract paid well, enough to make up for the lost construction income. Barely. They would have to be careful. Budget carefully. But they could do it. We can make it work, he said. Then do it. Take the role. Do professional opera. Live your dream. I'm 44 years old, so who says dreams have expiration dates? Sarah took his hands. You've taught our children something amazing these past 2 years. You've taught them that life is long, that it's never too late, that you can change your path, that you can come back to yourself. Don't stop now. Keep going. Keep showing them what's possible. Marcus looked at his wife, his partner, his biggest supporter, the woman who had refused to let him disappear, who had printed that audition notice and left it on the table, who had changed his life by refusing to accept half measures. Okay, he said. I'll do it. I'll do professional opera, Sarah smiled. My opera singer husband. I knew you'd come back to me eventually. The 3 months with the professional company were the hardest and best months of Marcus's life. The standards were higher, the expectations greater, the competition fierce. But he rose to the challenge. He proved he belonged. He proved age did not matter. Talent mattered. Dedication mattered. Heart mattered. The reviews of the show mentioned him specifically. Marcus Chen brings authenticity and emotional depth to his role. His voice is powerful and his stage presence commanding. A talent to watch, a talent to watch. At 44, after 20 years away from music, it was never too late. After that production, more offers came. More auditions. More opportunities. Marcus could not do them all. He still had his other jobs. His family. His responsibilities. But he did some. He chose carefully. He said yes to the roles that excited him, that challenged him, that let him grow. He was not a full-time opera singer. He probably never would be. But he was a singer, a performer, an artist, and also a construction worker, a teacher, a husband, a father. He was all of it, completely himself. Finally. 5 years after that first audition, Marcus stood backstage at the community theater. They were doing another production of La Bohème. But this time, Marcus was not performing. He was mentoring, working with a young tenor who was playing Rodolfo for the first time. I'm so nervous, the young man said. What if I mess up? What if I'm not good enough? Marcus smiled. He remembered feeling that way, standing on this very stage. Terrified and excited and alive. You're going to be great, Marcus said. Just remember why you're doing this. Not for the applause. Not for recognition, but because you need to. Because singing makes you feel alive. Because telling stories through music is what you're meant to do. The young man nodded. Did you always know? That singing was what you were meant to do? I knew, Marcus said. But I forgot for a while. For a long time. I let other things become more important. I told myself I had to be practical, responsible. I convinced myself that dreams were for young people. That I had missed my chance. What changed? Marcus thought about the answer. About Sarah and the audition notice. About standing on this stage and deciding to sing Nessun Dorma instead of Happy Birthday. About choosing courage over safety. About choosing to be himself instead of who he thought he should be. I stopped disappearing, Marcus said finally. I stopped letting myself fade away. I decided that it wasn't too late. That I could still be who I was meant to be. Even at 42. Even after 20 years away. I decided to try, and it worked. It worked. Not perfectly. Not easily. But yes, it worked. I'm here. I'm singing. I'm myself. And I'm happy. Really happy. The young tenor smiled. Thank you. That helps. A lot. You're going to do great tonight. Just remember, when you step out on that stage, you're not alone. Everyone who ever sang Rodolfo is with you. Everyone who ever took a risk on their dreams is with you. You're part of something bigger than yourself. The call came for places. The young tenor took a deep breath. He walked toward the stage, ready, brave, alive. Marcus watched him go. He remembered being that young man, full of dreams and hope. He had lost that for a while, but he had found it again. And now he was helping others find it too. That was the gift. Not just his own redemption, but the ability to help others, to show them the path, to encourage them, to prove it was possible. Marcus left the theater and drove home. Sarah was waiting for him. The kids were grown now. Emma was working as an engineer. Jacob was in college. Maria was in high school, still drawing, still creating art. They were all living their dreams, pursuing their passions, not afraid to be themselves. They had learned from watching Marcus, from seeing him take that risk, from seeing him come back to life. That was the real legacy. Not the performances, not the reviews, but the example, the proof that it was never too late, that you could change, that you could find yourself again. Marcus sat on the couch next to Sarah. She leaned against him. How was rehearsal? Good. The new Rodolfo is going to be great. He reminds me of me, young and scared and full of fire. You're still full of fire, Sarah said. Just wiser now, too. Thanks to you. If you hadn't pushed me to audition, you'd still be disappearing, Sarah finished. But you didn't. You came back. And I'm so grateful. Every single day I'm grateful. They sat together in comfortable silence. Outside the sun was setting. The sky was turning pink and orange. It was beautiful, peaceful. Marcus thought about his life, about the choices he had made, the sacrifices, the compromises, but also the triumphs, the moments of pure joy, the connection with audiences, the feeling of his voice soaring, the knowledge that he had touched people's lives. It had not been perfect, but it had been real. It had been his, and that was enough. More than enough, it was everything.